Welcome to the Studio Chat podcast. My name is Barbara Thompson. Each week, I'll be bringing you a self-care expert or a message to help you to discover how to live your best life and understand your mind-body connection. Thanks for spending some time with me today. Now, let the Studio Chat begin. Today on the Studio Chat podcast, I'm celebrating a bit of a milestone. This episode is number 80, and if you've been with me from the beginning, thank you so much. I know a lot of you have, and I just set this out as a bit of a side hobby and something that I enjoy doing, and now I can't believe that I've created 80 episodes and I've just continued to have such incredible, amazing guests that take time out of their own day to spend some time with me to record these episodes. So thank you to each and every one of my guests over these 80 episodes. Some of you have come back for a second time. It's really, it humbles me, and it's just such a nice thing. And I really love doing these podcasts, and I want to keep doing these for as long as I can. And today is, like I said, it's episode 80, and it's with, I call him my OG, OG right-hand lady, because Jessica's been with me from the beginning of this podcast, but also I do a few collabs with some amazing and talented women. She's my right-hand lady when it comes to anything to do with aromatherapy. And she helped me with Maisie when Maisie was sick, with her Cushing's, with some aromatherapy oils, and they really helped her. And she's made me all these different types of blends, and it's just such an honour to not only collaborate with her, but she also features on some of my online courses. And, she's a really good friend of mine, so I'm just so grateful. And thank you, Jessica, for being part of Self-Care Studio and the Studio Chat podcast. And today in this episode, I'm not sure what's happened in these last two episodes that I've recorded. I just want to let you know that a couple of times in this podcast, the internet connection is a little bit unstable again, and we just have a bit of it's just a bit hard to hear, just a couple of moments. Again, it frustrates me, but that's technology sometimes, and I've been really lucky with my connection in my episode so far. So I want to just let you know, but I really wanted to jump on here and just say, if you're tuning into this episode, if it's your first one, really nice to see you. Thank you so much. And if you've been with me from the beginning, I'd love you to, a lot of you guys listen to my podcast on Spotify. On Spotify, there's like a rating star system. If you could please rate it, and that would just really help my podcast to be pushed up and more people to see it. And if there's an episode that you really like the sound of, and you think other people would like to hear it, please feel free to share an episode with someone that you love. So I'm just going to take you right on in to episode 80 with my friend Jessica. Welcome to episode 80 today, and today's guest has, I want you to check out episode 7 if you haven't done so already, and I'm so happy to have Jessica with me today, and she is, I'm really excited to say, is now a qualified clinical aromatherapist. She's from Aromatherapy Co., and she's like my OG right-hand lady where it comes to anything aromatherapy, essential oils. This woman is incredible because not only this is her second time on my podcast, but she helped me with some essential oils for my dog Maisie when she was here. Is always someone that I can check in and talk to about anything, and also features on some of my online courses. So I'd love to welcome Jessica from Aromatherapy Co. Hi.
Thank you. Hi. Thank you so much for having me again. I'm so excited to be back. And what a nice, intro. It's so cute.
I mean it. But today you're in a different place, a different part of the world. So when I first spoke to you, you were in Sydney, and now you are in Canada.
Yeah, I'm, nearly got my Canadian accent down pat. I'll start saying A at the end of all my sentences.
That's what us Kiwis do as well. So I've had to, we always go A. So talking to me today, you probably just feel like you're still in Canada.
Yeah.
Hey. So today, and I just want to let people know that as a qualified clinical aromatherapist, you specialize in pre and postnatal care and menopause as well. So that's that's something I really want people to know about. But also today, I thought it was really important for us to talk about how we track our cycles and our period and all the things to do with that, because I come across so many women, young women, teenage girls, women in general, who, when I have a conversation with them, I'm like, oh, where are you at your period? Or do you track your period? They're like, no, I probably should, but I don't. And I find when we're having in our counseling sessions, when I'm talking to them about how they're feeling and their moods and when they're wanting to achieve a goal, it's really important to be in sync with their cycle, because I find that they'll only talk to me about it when they're like, oh my God, I've got such bad cramps, or I've got a headache, or I'm really shitty at everyone today and it's that time. So I feel like there's such a negative connection between how we feel about our bodies and our cycle, rather than let's celebrate it, but let's understand. A lot of us just are not educated. I definitely used to fall into that group. I knew nothing about it, but knowing the cycles, knowing how our body is.
Me too.
Yeah. And also knowing what's right for us, because we're also different in that as well. I'd love, today we're going to talk about how aromatherapy is used to sync our menstrual cycle, how it can help with hormone balances, and how essential oils and aromatherapy is really amazing to use through the different phases of our cycle. But before we get into that, how did you come into, I know that you've released an ebook about tracking your cycle and using different essential oils. And right now, if you go on to Jessica's Instagram page, she's actually doing an awesome series of each day in her cycle, what that looks like and what you do to care for yourself. But how did you come into all this, being interested in tracking your cycle and using essential oils for it?
Yeah, so it's funny that you mentioned, the women and girls that you talk to don't sort of know unless it's their period. And I was in the exact same boat. So I was on hormonal birth control for 15 plus years. So, when I was a teenager, I had really bad acne, and the doctor was like, "Hey, go on the pill. That will fix it," which it did. And when I was in my 20s, like being on the pill was, perfect for my lifestyle at the time. And but when I started having a look into maybe coming off the pill, I remember trying to have conversations with the doctors a few times, being like, so like, what is this doing to my body? Like, should I come off the pill? Should I change the pill? And every time they're like, well, why? Why would you want to do that? I'm like, oh, I'm trying to find information. And no one could actually give me that information. And so I was like, okay, I'll take this into my own hands, and started doing some research and started to actually read about like periods. And then I started like, I don't know if I'm maybe the only one in the world that didn't know this, but I didn't know that you could only get pregnant within like a 24-hour window, like during your ovulation. I was told in school that you could get pregnant pretty much all the time. Like, you kiss a boy, you're pregnant, but that's not the case. So finding something out like so like important, and being like, wow, why do I not know this about my body? Like, why do I not know this? So just, really delved into kind of what the menstrual cycle is, what the different phases are. And then I started looking into what were some of the symptoms for being on the pill. So I've always had really bad stomach issues, and I've, had multiple tests over the years, and nothing was ever diagnosed. And that can actually be a common symptom from being on the pill, which again, I didn't know about. And then what was some of the symptoms coming off the pill? So because I'd been on the pill for, 15 plus years, I was so nervous about my acne coming back. Like, what is that going to look like? Are my hormones going to go crazy? Am I going to go mental? Is my poor husband going to divorce me because I can't put up with me anymore? Like, so sort of reading into that. And then I was like, okay, what's my sort of game plan? What can I do to really sort of eliminate some of those symptoms as I'm coming off the pill? And so when I was coming off the pill, I started getting hair loss. I got back acne, which, isn't really that fun when you're in your mid 30s. I had migraines for the first month. Like, it was crazy. Because I was using aromatherapy at the time, and, I was studying at the time, I studied using aromatherapy, particularly for that emotional aspect of my cycle. So, when I really needed that emotional support when I was coming off the pill and trying to balance my hormones through oils that way. but then started syncing also my nutrition and also my exercise as well, to really mitigate those symptoms that I was having and to balance my hormones. And then essential oils just became a really integral part of managing those symptoms and alleviating those symptoms and bringing my hormones back to sort of base level, which was really good.
Thank you for sharing all of that. And it's really important that you're so honest. I think many of us don't actually want to be how honest we are about how we don't know our bodies.
Yeah, I was just
yeah.
amazed. I was like, how do I not know this?
Yeah. And isn't it interesting that you said, like, we can only get pregnant in that window? And you hear stories time and time again, all of us, that when we're younger, we have this fear of being pregnant and we don't want it.
Yeah.
And then when we do want it, it's hard. Like, we're like, hang on, it's something that we've never wanted, and then all of a sudden when we want to try it, it's really difficult. But yeah, it's interesting that even in the back of my mind, even though I know, okay, I've tracked my period. I've said this on another podcast, that from the very first time I got it, I had zero education. I didn't even have a parent that told me what it's like to get one. So when I got it, I was just like, oh my God, I'm bleeding. Like, what the heck? I don't even know how to care for myself. I don't even know what to use. I knew nothing. And
Yeah.
then I guess from that, no, I've just lost my train of thought now. It must be so important. I've just lost my train of oh, that's right. With getting pregnant. Even now I know that there's certain days, and I've tracked my cycle ever since day one. I'll draw at high school, I'd draw little symbols. I think it was like a little flower or a little love heart every month, and I'd always count the days. I don't know why. Still do it now, but I use an app for it. So I basically have data ever since I got my period of knowing how long my cycle is. Even knowing now there's certain days I can get pregnant, in the back of my mind, I'm like, oh yeah, but you never know. Like, it could happen. On the other days, like, that has been installed into me from somewhere, that even though Barbara, here's day, I don't know, 14, 15, 16, whatever, you can only get pregnant on these days. But I'm like, oh, what happens on day 20? Oh, it might slip through the cracks. I could get pregnant.
Yeah. I know, it's crazy. And it's crazy that we weren't taught this in school. Like, you think that would be such an integral lesson for us to learn about our bodies, and it's not. And sort of all of that emotional and physical characteristics that are part of the menstrual cycle and those different phases, like, we didn't know about. Like, now that I'm very much in sync with my cycle, I know that, trying on, jeans in the end of my luteal phase or menstrual phase, and I feel fat and I feel ugly. Like, I used to have such bad thoughts about, like, oh, look, I'm fat, I'm ugly, blah, blah. But now I'm like, no, look at where you are in your phase. This is just common, like a common part of this phase of why you feel like that. Think back to 2 weeks ago when you were in your ovulation phase and you felt like a queen, you felt sexy, you were going out there strutting your stuff, and now you just feel fat and ugly. What has changed? Nothing has changed. I haven't changed weight. I haven't changed my hair. Like, I'm still wearing the exactly same clothes. It's just because of everything as part of that phase, which is because of the hormone levels that you're going through, which is, yeah. Once you know that, it actually just kind of changes your mindset quite a bit as well.
It's a real thing, because in that stage where you feel really fat and ugly and sometimes your skin breaks out and you're just so irritable and everyone's pissing you off and you're just like, man, I'm not a nice person. And those thoughts can go dark really quickly. And you literally, if anyone's listening to this, I'm sure they can resonate that, like, I know when I'm in those stages, you literally feel like you're 100 kilos heavier than what you were 2 weeks ago. Like, I just want to emphasize how that feels for us in that moment. But you are right. Reflect back in 2 weeks. What's changed? It's just how we feel.
Yeah, exactly right. And just some of those physical characteristics as well of the different phases. Like, there's certain phases that you tend to hold more fluid retention because of your hormone levels. If you're eating certain things, like, at different parts of your phase, like, that can also have an effect. So it's interesting when you're in sync, and then you can sort of override those thoughts, but also then incorporate, nutrition, exercise, and aromatherapy to really really benefit your well-being and combat what you're probably going to feel during those phases. So you're more aware, and you've got those tools to kind of really just bring yourself back to a level where you just feel good and you feel normal.
And that can that's very normal, to feel normal, to the point of I was on birth. Oh my God, I don't even know how long I was on the pill for as well. I don't know. It was a lot. I think it was about 10 years, and then I got off it for a little bit, and then I went back on it for a little bit. And I remember going off and going back on. I remember I had no knowledge about myself and my body. Like, I was so disconnected. But in that moment, I knew, going back on it, it was rough. And I remember saying to myself, I'm not doing. Once I was on it and got over that first month or two, I was okay. But I remember saying to myself, I'm not doing this again. And so I've been off it for 5 years or 6 years. And when I came off it, I wasn't I had so many, it's so interesting because you're so in tune with when I came off the pill, all this stuff happened. But when I came off it, I had so much stuff happening in my life, massive changes, all this big stuff that maybe, I don't know, maybe that stuff happened to me as well. But looking back, I was like, it wasn't too bad for me. But just ovulating for the first time when you've been on the pill for such a long time, and then it's like, whoa, wow, what's this?
Yeah.
Like, what's this? And then also, being a grown woman and sitting at my office, I'll never forget it. Because my period isn't like bang on 28, it's sometimes 28, 30, 31, 28, 30, somewhere in that bracket. But and I don't often get pains anymore. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't, but it's really minimal. And I'm just sitting at my desk, and sometimes I go to the toilet and it's like everywhere. And I'm like, I'm a grown woman. And I laugh because I go, I'm a grown woman. I've had my period for a really long time. And now because my body's, leveled, I don't know when I get my period is, and I go to the toilet and then pull my pants down, like, oh my God, I got my period. And it's bittersweet because I laugh going, oh, that's so cool. I didn't even know. No pains. My mood didn't change. No back pain like I used to get. Oh, this is cool. But the same thing, I'm like belittling myself going, for God's sake, I'm a grown woman. It's everywhere. I feel like I'm a teenage girl again. This is so annoying.
I actually had that the other week because I use the basal temperature method to track my cycle. So every morning when I wake up, I take my temperature straight away, and you can see that when your temperature drops, that's when like your period will come in that day. And what I tend to do is I tend to wake up, I take my temperature, but then I don't log it in my phone. So I kind of do it half asleep, and I'll usually log it in my phone later in the day. And so I didn't see that my temperature dropped, and I got to Pilates and I was like, oh shit. I'm like, all right, gone through a whole Pilates class. We'll see what happens here. This could be a bloodbath. We'll see. But it was, fine. But it was because I didn't have any of those symptoms either of like, I didn't have the cramps because, I've been managing that through doing my nutrition and my aromatherapy, protocols. So like it was like, oh, okay, my body's doing its thing, and I didn't even really realize because I'm just feeling normal and good.
Yeah, I can resonate with that. And also in a way, it's like I said, bittersweet that when you get those little crampies just before it happens, or you get really shitty and then it happens and you're like, oh, no wonder. When you don't have those, it's almost like I don't have a checking system that when I jump in my car, I've got to make sure I've got some pads or tampons or something with me. I always normally make sure I've always got something in my bag no matter what. I've always been like that. But now because I don't feel anything, very much like that. Sometimes I'm out and I have to open my app. Like I'm standing in the middle of the supermarket going, oh, actually, I just need to check where I'm at, because sometimes I don't take anything. And that's kind of the byproduct of being so in tune with your body and not having any symptoms at all, is sometimes you forget to take something with you and then you get caught out, and toilet paper method and kind of squidging your bum cheeks together until you get home.
Exactly right. Oh, it's funny.
So I'm glad I'm not the only one that has those moments of, because we all have those moments no matter how old you are.
Oh yeah. Exactly, for sure. And that's the thing, like I feel like particularly teenagers need to be having these conversations with friends. Well, I don't know whether it's different now. I really hope it is. But I remember when I was that age, you kind of didn't talk about it. You didn't really talk about your period, and you hid your pad, in your bag, and you didn't want anyone to see it, and stuff like that. So it's been quite a journey for me, actually, the last 2 years of actually being very open about what I'm doing, and particularly this day in the life now of, just kind of making people aware of, these things kind of happen. This is how you might feel, and just trying to be open and honest about it. So it, provokes that conversation with other people as well. And for other people to, have an insight into what might be not, I don't want to use the word normal, but what might be healthy and what might be something that they might need to look into. So, if there's the hormonal imbalance there, whether, they might need to look into doing something to help their bodies come back to that natural state.
Because if we're being really honest for a moment, like obviously I'm not a medical professional, but you're a clinical aromatherapist, but in saying that ideally when we get our period, there should be no pain ever, no cramps through our cycle. So many people I speak to, the heavy flow, oh, that's just normal, that's just me, or I've had cramps forever, or I've just got really bad cramps. I don't want, especially the younger audience that listen to this as well, I don't want you to go, oh, it's just normal. We are somehow brought up. I think it's changing, but period cramps are normal. Oh, poor you got period cramps. If I had a daughter right now, if she had any form of backache, sore tummy in any time of her cycle, not when she's just bleeding, but any time, I would be like, we've got to go and get some answers. We're going to make sure that your body is in balance, because you should not be experiencing any discomfort or pain at all.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the thing. No one talks about that. Like, you got cramps, okay, go get a hot water bottle. Like, if your hormones are, level and stable, and your body is sort of in sync and in balance, then you shouldn't be experiencing those symptoms. And that's what you can manage by, lifestyle change. Like, you can do this holistically. Yes, it's good to, go to the doctor, have a chat with them, get tests needed done, see if there's anything else there. But you can manage this holistically through nutrition, exercise, and aromatherapy as well, which, and lifestyle changes. Like, I remember one of the major ones for me, like, I was always a intermittent fasting girl. Like, I survived on coffee until midday, and then had my lunch and dinner. And that actually played a huge role in, like, my hormonal balance, because coffee is a stimulant and it affects your stress hormone cortisol. And when your cortisol levels peak and you're currently in that stress state, that's what affects your hormones. It affects the disruption of your hormones being managed and your endocrine. And that was one thing that I really focused on and changed. So now in the time, so I have I have a little protein bite on my way to Pilates, so that I've got something to really stabilize my blood sugar, particularly before having coffee. And so, that was just an easy swap, but one that I, didn't think about in the past.
I love that you share real life examples too. It's so helpful for people. And the connection did cut out a little bit, but I think the audio will pick all that up. So I just wanted to let you know that.
Perfect.
Hopefully it'll be fine when I, when I post it up. But I wanted to share with people too that with intermittent fasting, if you are a faster, there's also research shows that it's best not to fast the week before your period. Actually, and if you fast all the time, your body gets used to it. Like, you need to change it up, and sometimes you're in autophagy and all that. So I've done a lot of reading about fasting, but one thing that stuck in my brain was that Dr. Mindy Powell's that does the Fast Like a Girl, whatever, that she's one of the intermittent fasting experts out there, and she even says, do not fast the week before your period.
Yeah.
And I'm extra hungry. I don't know about you, but the week before my period, wow, I'm so hungry. And then the week off my period, not hungry. Isn't it interesting?
Yep. Yeah, exactly. So like that's the thing with nutrition syncing for your menstrual cycle. Like when you're in your luteal phase, you actually incorporate a lot more complex carbs because you do feel hungrier, and so you want to have more sustenance to keep you fuller for longer during that phase as well. And then in your menstrual phase too, you kind of want that like some comforting foods.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Oh, I'm actually going to be a bit nerdy at the moment. I'm going to go check on, see what day I'm on right now. How nerdy is this, everyone? Before we go into talking about the different phases, I'm going to check. Look at this technology, hey? How good is this? Ah, okay. No wonder I feel good today. I am on. It's interesting. My app shows a fertile window. So it shows from day 10 to day 16. And obviously,
Yep.
and this is an app, so it's not, my body would be slightly different. And then obviously day 15 is ovulation day. So today I'm on day 11.
Wow, you and I are nearly in sync.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so I'm on day 11 today, which my app says it's a fertile window. So from yesterday until next Tuesday, and I'm feeling pretty good at the moment. So when I looked at that, I thought, yeah, that's probably about
Yep.
right.
Yep, exactly. I'm just about to go into my ovulation phase in the next few days, and I can I'm feeling it. I'm like, yes, this is a good time to book in the podcast for us, I think.
Yeah, I think so too. So day 11, I'm just looking at the different. So there's 4 phases, right? Is that right in your menstrual cycle?
Yes. So, yeah, do you want me to take you through the different
Yeah,
phases and
yeah.
kind of
Let's.
explain what they look like for people?
Yes, please. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I guess the most prevalent one for people is the menstrual phase, which is when you get your period. And so the reason you feel so crap, or tired, or low fatigue, it's because your hormone levels have both dropped at that time, and so that's what has signaled your period to come. And so yeah, you're feeling tired, low energy. Um, you might get the cramping, the headaches, that sort of thing. And so by using nutrition and aromatherapy, you can really mitigate those symptoms during that phase. Then you go into the follicular phase, so your hormone levels are starting to rise again. So you start to really feel that energy kind of come back, and you're feeling a bit more creative and a bit more like motivated in things that you want to do. Um, and you might find because your energy is increasing, you might have, a bit of trouble sleeping just because you're kind of really revved up, and finding it a little bit hard to focus sometimes. Then you go into the ovulation phase, which is like the big moment actually of your menstrual phase. And so that's when your hormone levels are both at their peak. So that's why you feel amazing, feel like you can take on the world, you feel like a goddess. Like this is the time to do a photo shoot, for example, or go out, socialize, do something new. Like, you're feeling confident. And that is the best part of your menstrual cycle. It's the best part. But within that phase, you might feel like you've got some fluid retention or breast sensitivity. And again, disrupted sleep because you've got that high energy and high hormone levels. And then you go into the luteal phase. So your energy now is starting to drop back off after the ovulation phase. And as your body is realizing, if you're not trying for a baby or you're not going through pregnancy, that's when your body is realizing that it will then put you back through to your period to shed the lining of your uterus. So you'll start to find that your hormones and your energy levels are decreasing again. And that's when you're bound to get the PMS symptoms. So you're bound to get, that anxiety, that emotional sensitivity, fatigue again, and, headaches, cramping, that sort of thing before you come into your period. So yeah, there's the 4 main phases, and they're quite distinctive in sort of their energy and the way that you feel and the symptoms both emotionally and physically that you might get during those times as well.
And with the ovulation phase, I say to my clients often that when you feel really good in that moment, biologically, there's a reason why
Yes.
we feel good. It's really we're here to make babies. And if we didn't feel that good in that moment in time, we wouldn't we wouldn't be around.
Yep,
No,
exactly right. That's
there'd
why you
be,
feel like a goddess. You're like, yes.
yes, you feel like a goddess because that's like, yeah, we want to procreate. We want more humans in this world. And then the luteal phase I find too is that's where my clients are really negative on themselves. That's where
Yep.
I want you to be aware that that's where that really, we all have that inner critic, but I feel like the inner critic really raises its ugly head in the luteal phase, but also the menstrual phase. Like it's really be mindful of how you're talking to yourself and how heavy that becomes and how dark that becomes. And it's always about what you do, what you say to people, and how you feel about your body.
Yep, exactly.
So the other phases. So within those phases, as you've said, that there's different hormones and different, there's also different characteristics of emotional and physical of like how we feel within those phases. So what do you think is the best way if someone's listening to this to start tracking themselves within this? Like what tips have you got for people?
Yeah, so I use an app called Natural Cycles, and that's just because of one that I prefer. But you can find different sort of tracking apps or different tracking sheets online. Um, Sorry, I lost my train of thought.
So
Different tracking things
I do
online.
too. It must be because we're in an ovulation phase. Our body just wants to make babies.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, I want to go out there and strut my stuff. Um, you
Is
can also track it.
sorry.
You can actually track it through cervical mucus as well, which is quite interesting. Like you'll find that you tend to have a lot more cervical mucus around the ovulation phase. So there's different sort of body tells as well. But even just tracking sort of your emotions, I feel like that's maybe a really good place to start, because if you're not sort of doing anything at the moment to mitigate those symptoms or to balance those kind of hormone peaks and troughs, then your emotions will really sort of tell you kind of where you are, which is a good one to start off with.
So you'd say like looking at Natural Cycles, is that an app?
Yeah, so that's an app, and it uses the basal body temperature method. So first thing in the morning, you take your temperature, and it can tell you where you are in your cycle, because your body temperature does change depending on where you are as well. So, for example, when you get your period, your body temperature actually drops. So you can track it through that on the app.
Does it vary? I've never done that. Does it vary a lot during the month when you track your temperature every day?
Yeah, it's quite interesting actually, and because you sort of build up a lot of data, like not that you can see it on the screen, but I'm looking at the chart now. But I can see that my body temperature rises quite a lot during ovulation, and it's sort of in that peak, like top body temperature range, and then it just dramatically like crashes down the first day of my period. So that's always a really good indicator for me because when you're taking your body temperature every day, you sort of realize, oh, okay, I'm around 36, blah blah. Then you wake up one day and you're like, oh, I'm down at like 34 and a half. You're like, oh, okay, this is the day. So that's quite an interesting way of tracking.
No,
Through it.
it's fascinating, and because all our senses are connected, so if someone's, a good way to start is obviously just try tracking your period, like give that a go, and then also then layer that with your emotions, then layer that with like knowing where you are in the different phases, and then obviously your nutrition. And then because all our senses are connected, that's where the essential oils come in to benefit us in those 4 stages. So how have you found that essential oils have helped you through, I know you're an clinical aromatherapist, but how has essential oils helped you through these 4 stages?
Yeah, so the reason this sort of came about was when I was, coming off the pill and, started sort of syncing my lifestyle. I was using aromatherapy to manage my emotions and to manage, certain symptoms, my headaches, and I use my headache roller, and I've now got like a period massage oil that I use, and So I started using aromatherapy that way, and I was like, hang on, I can be really targeted with how I use this during the different phases. So what I came up with was sort of a protocol and different sort of aromatherapy products or different ways of using aromatherapy through each of those phases. So through diffusing different blends. So, particularly in that menstrual phase, I use diffusing blends which are really uplifting. They're calming. So I'm using, like peppermint and sweet orange and really sort of like fruity, nice, essential oil diffuser blends. Whereas then when I'm in like the ovulation phase and my energy is at the peak, I don't really want to be using sort of really stimulative oils. I want to kind of bring the energy a little bit back down, particularly with my sleep, like, getting a sleep cycle back on track. So using very sedative oils and using diffuser blends that way. And then the luteal phase, you're going through that emotional sensitivity at the time, you're going through that anxiety. So you want to then focus on essential oils that will mitigate those, overthinking thoughts and mitigate that anxiety. So what I came up with was, this system of using 12 targeted essential oils. So, every essential oil is amazing to use at like any different stage. But it was like, how can I, choose a targeted selected group of essential oils which have particular properties to really benefit during these different stages. So what I looked at was what therapeutic properties are the best for the menstrual cycle. So sort of taking you back to Aromatherapy 101, essential oils are all made with different chemical constituents, which then dictates the therapeutic action or benefit that has on your body. So it might be a sedative, it might be an anti-stimulative, it might be, anti-inflammatory. So what out of those essential oils and those therapeutic groups, what will be best used throughout the different cycle? And then that's what led me into the research around these 12 targeted essential oils and how to use them. So what I also did was create products to use during the different phases. So I mentioned that period massage oil before. So that uses essential oils that have emmenagogue properties. And what that means is it helps to stimulate the blood flow in the uterus. So it's actually assisting your period. It's assisting with any bloating that you might get and any cramping that you get. And you're using, you're not reaching for, Panadol or Nurofen or, ibuprofen. You're reaching for something that's very holistic and that actually has, targeted benefits for that particular purpose. So yes, for each of those phases, I've then created these different protocols and different product recipes that people can make at home to use throughout those phases for the different emotional and physical characteristics of those phases.
I love that. And is it a mixture of, when you say period oil, where do you put the oil?
Yeah, so it's use it on your abdomen. So you do like a nightly and morning massage with the oil, which helps with the stimulating of your period and the cramping and bloating that you get. So I love to put it at night after my shower, and then I wake up and I feel very much refreshed, and that kind of heavy feeling from the night before. Like I just feel so much lighter afterwards. It's good.
Oh, it's so nice. I want to try that. Because
You'll have to, yeah.
instantly I want to try it and report back, because instantly I'm thinking, one of the questions I want to ask you is like, does it really work? Jessica, does it really work?
You're like, is she talking nonsense?
No,
So I
not at
have made
all.
that particular blend for a few friends, and they've said that they loved it too. So I'm
Okay.
like, perfect. And to me, because there's that, research backing, behind these essential oils and the therapeutic properties, that's why, I believe that this is a holistic way to really help you bring balance to your menstrual cycle.
But I think it's great, even if it doesn't have to be, even my younger audience too the beauty about this is it's so natural and holistic. They can start doing it as part of their self-care and getting to know their bodies. And I think it's such an incredible thing.
Thank you.
It really is. So I know that there's different ones that help. So there's different oils that make you feel different things that you use in different parts of your cycle. So is that where your ebook
Yep.
comes in, is to help people to put like a bit of a plan into place to help them with that?
Yes. So yeah, what I wanted to do with the ebook was to give people the tools that I've been using, for the last year and a half, 2 years, and the products that I, make and use, the essential oils that I make, that I use, and the diffuser blend. So giving people the tools to manage these symptoms naturally through aromatherapy. Like this can be, a holistic part of what you can do to help yourself along. And nutrition is also a good one, and you can cycle sync your exercise as well. But sometimes that's difficult for people to really follow. Whereas because you've got to make that conscious choice every day about what you eat, what you shop. Are you cooking for other people? Sometimes it can be a bit difficult. Where aromatherapy you can do just for yourself.
Mm.
These are products that you use. Diffuser blends that you use and choose. So it's an easier sort of approach to sort of cycle sync, I find, with aromatherapy.
Yeah, and for so many of my mum clients who just are lost in how do I care for myself anymore? Like I care for everyone else, I come last. I am so overwhelmed because I just don't know where to start. What a beautiful way of just caring for yourself is kind of dipping your toe into the essential oil world. And like you said, it's something that they can do for themselves. And I don't
Yeah,
know,
exactly.
anyone that knows me knows I'm so smell orientated. I am so driven. Is it like my limbic system? What's the system that's like? I think I was born with something that's like times a thousand because it's so heightened for me. So essential oils is just, I could sit here smelling them all. Like it actually sounds really horrific. Like I could sit here smelling it all day because the joy it gives me straight away when something smells good, it's just like, I can't get enough of it.
Yeah. Oh, well, that's the perfect way to be. And like aroma and scent is quite a strong sense because of your olfactory system, so your nose and how you smell things. That's the only sense that is directly linked to your brain. So because you're smelling through your olfactory system, it triggers your limbic brain straight away. So, if you're seeing something or hearing something, it takes a little while for your brain to sort of process it. Whereas with aroma, it goes straight to the limbic brain, which has that immediate emotional response and that physical response as well because of the limbic brain. So the amygdala, for example, that's part of the limbic brain and is responsible for flight or fight response. So, when you're getting those good like emotional responses from aroma, you're smelling something that you really enjoy, and that limbic brain is doing that straight away for you.
So you can have smells that are associated with memories, and
Yep.
that can work in a good way and a bad way.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, but I love that. And I love what you do is you always take things a step further, like with everything that you do. And that's why I love working with you, because not only do you, like in this ebook and with what you do, is help us understand the phases and help us understand what oils go with what phase, but then you also talk about the oils and how oils are labeled, because there's so much. I love that people are more aware that there's more things to do with self-care, and obviously my business is called self-care, and I did this way before this became a buzzword or whatever. But there's so many oils out there that I want, it's good that we educate people that when they look at a product, an essential oil on the label, what's best to look for?
Yeah, so a lot of brands might say pure essential oil or 100% pure, and you're like, is it really? So always look at the actual ingredient label. So every good essential oil and actually pure essential oil brand will list the botanical plant of that essential oil. So I can never say it correctly, but lavender is like lavender agosta, or I totally butchered that, but you'll find that there's a longer botanical name next to it, and that's a good way to sort of tell. Because they have to list where that's actually come from. Another one is also cost. So if you're going to Target or Kmart and buying essential oils for $2 a bottle, I'm sorry to say, but they are synthetic oils, and synthetic oils can actually disrupt your hormones because of some of the chemicals that they use in synthetic fragrances. So that's kind of one to really look out for. So the essential oils, you can get essential oils for like $14, but it will always depict, kind of the yield of the plant. So, for example, you know how lavender grows super easily. Lavender essential oil will always be cheaper than, for example, jasmine, because it takes a lot more jasmine flowers to make the same quantity. So really look into the brand. If a brand's being, a bit secretive about their production processes, then they're doing that for a reason. So definitely look for, the botanical name, have a look at the cost and what the brand's actually saying about their products.
People could always reach out to you too on Instagram and ask you if, because it's such a hard world we live in sometimes, that when you I see it with clients with their nutrition or their mental health or anything or supplements is another perfect example, is when people go, okay, I want to take better care of myself. Money for all of us at the moment with inflation is tight. So with what I do have, I am going to choose to spend it on myself to feel better about myself, to look after myself. And then it really upsets me that when people reach out and buy products, whatever it is, they're actually making them sicker. They're actually not helping, and it's just money thrown down the toilet. And then what it does is, when people aren't getting the feeling that they think they should be getting, it discourages them to take any more further steps to, I want to care for myself. They're like, oh, bugger this. I'll just keep doing what I'm doing because it doesn't work. I'll always have aches. I'll always have sore periods. I'll always feel a certain way. And then people can go the other way, or people can think that they're doing really well, like you said with the Kmart essential oils, whatever, and be sniffing it and whatever, and their kids and their animals and everything's smelling it, and they're actually doing, and it's no one's fault. Like, you don't know what you don't know. So I'm not like, goodness me, we're always learning. But the more we talk about this and pass it on to your friends. If you go to your girlfriend's house and she's diffusing an oil, I want you to have a look at it and just go, oh, I want to look out for my friend. I want to look out for my family. What oil? I just heard this cool podcast. What oils are you using? Like, spread the word, help people out there to know that, instead of $2, spend $13, but a little goes a long way with essential oils.
Exactly. And then you get those therapeutic benefits as well that I was talking about earlier. Like, is it a sedative oil then? Is it a stimulative oil? Like, what additional benefits are you getting? So, by spending, that extra $13, you're actually getting all these additional things that you're not getting from just a synthetic fragrance, oil. And, you don't need to go out there and buy a ton of oils. Like, I'm an aromatherapist and I've only just completed my kit pretty much with all my oils, because I'm like, oh yeah, I'll try this one now. But, I started off with the basics, like lavender essential oil. Like, if I say to anyone, buy one oil, that is literally it. It is like the godsend of oils. That one, and sweet orange, like, have a sniff around, try a few different ones. If there's one that you really resonate with and really love, like, that is your oil. And that's the thing, it's very subjective as well. So everyone will have a different opinion of what actual aroma that they prefer. So yeah, sniff around.
Sniff around. That's our soundbite for today. Sniff around. I love that.
Exactly right.
I love that you also go again a step further. You help people, you educate people on how to balance their hormones throughout the day. So not only do you talk about all the touch points of self-care in a holistic way. It's not just about the oils. It's about sleep and food and really giving people the full picture of helping them through their cycles. So that's what I really love about it. And you also go into, like, I've just got the ebook in front of me and I'm just having a look at it. And you've also got, I love it because you've got different oils and then you've got the therapeutic benefit. Like, for me, I love as much information as I can. Like, I want to learn, I want to read about it. And it's so beautifully put. You put the oil, then you put what the therapeutic benefits is. And then when you say it's best for whatever phase, that helps someone like me, because I'm like, what is it called? How is it going to help me? And when do I use it? And you actually state it so clearly, which I think for all of us, when we have busy minds and busy lives, this is such a awesome way of putting it together.
And that's what I wanted to have in the book as well. So there's, the beginning of the book talks about the different phases and your hormone levels and stuff, because, it's good to understand that when you're starting to sink. So, I really wanted to share that information and then go into sort of the 101 about aromatherapy. So there's a section on what is aromatherapy exactly? Like, how does this actually work? Like, why are people using this? What's the benefit? Because I feel like that's, people need to understand that to then want to incorporate things into their life. Like, why am I doing this, pretty much? And then having all of that information around why were these particular oils chosen? Like, what's the reasoning? What's the research behind this? And then how to actually use them. So I love to give people that information of the why. It's not just go use this, good luck. It's this is why, this is how. There's protocols that I've included in the book, and I wanted to make it super easy for people as well. There's like a maintenance protocol that I call it, which is kind of like your bare minimum of aromatherapy to incorporate into your phases. And then there's like the advanced, and there's like add-ons, so people can sort of layer it as well to their different lifestyle. Like, if you're a busy mum, I understand it's hard to incorporate these things sometimes, but in your morning routine, popping the diffuser on in the morning, that takes 2 minutes. And once you get into the habit, that has a really beneficial start to your day by, okay, I'm in my menstrual phase, I'm feeling low, feeling tired, feeling fatigued. I'm going to choose this particular blend because it's really energizing, pop it on in the morning, and that has set you up for the day. And something super simple, doesn't take much time. Giving those protocols of how people can actually incorporate it as well was really important for me to include. And then, of course, the different blends and the different products that people can make and use at home. And again, why should I incorporate them? That was really important to me.
Why we should incorporate them. And I really want to talk about the therapeutic benefits, because I think, like, I'm just thinking of my life when I go to people's houses, or, a lot of people that I see work from home, for different services. And I think most people now, I'm just thinking about it, a lot of people, it's common to have a diffuser going. And I think a lot of people just have it for the smell.
Yeah.
Like, it's quite interesting, isn't it? I know a lot of service-based businesses. This is a little bit off topic, but I thought I'll ask you. A lot of business owners have a diffuser going. So what would you recommend for somewhere like a counselling clinic, for a day spa, for a nail tech, for massage? Like, a lot of those places have a diffuser going 24/7. I've just thought about that. Then I thought, I wonder what they're using. I'm going to have a look next time, but I wonder also, like, is there a generic blend to use, because there's so many people coming in and out during the day?
Yeah, that's true. You can definitely look at, different blends like EcoBond Essentials. I use a lot of their products, and they've got some good blends. But I would look for those particular businesses, I would look for sedative essential oils. So you want to look for, very calming. So your lavender, your bergamot, like your patchouli. So eucalyptus, so something that's really going to just calm people down when they come into that space. Like, that's why they're there. They're taking care of themselves. They're doing something for them. So you want to have them in that space feeling very calm, very relaxed. But again, just diffuse straight lavender and it's perfect for everyone.
Yeah, I think I might start doing that in my studio. I haven't done it for a while.
Yeah.
But I laughed when you said a sedative, so I'll put that on, and then everyone will fall asleep in my studio.
Yeah. Yeah, you might actually. You might be like, I'm too calm. Don't want to do any work today.
Yeah, I probably get talking about today. They're like, nothing. I just want to lie here with my eyes. I want to just have my eyes closed.
But for example, I've got the diffuser on actually next to me, and because I came home from the office to chat with you today, and I was like, I've already had a bit of a day, like I need something a bit uplifting, so I chose more stimulative oils so that I'm awake, I'm alert, I'm ready for a chat. Just picking those essential oils by the therapeutic benefits is such a great way to go.
Mm, that's so beautiful. I love it. And I'm just saying, is there anything else that you want to share with us about menstrual our menstrual cycle and the different diffuser blends?
I think just that, have a chat with your friends, have a chat with your family. If you've got daughters, talk to them about this stuff. Have this conversation very openly about it. Like my husband is very much across my menstrual cycle. I had coffee the other day with some girlfriends. He was there and we were talking about our periods. Like he knows, what kind of flow my friend has, like he's very much aware and not, taboo about it. And which has been good. Like if I'm not, in a good mood, if I'm going through the end phase, my luteal phase and having symptoms, and, he kind of understands where I am emotionally as well. So just having those, sort of conversations. And it's very easy once you start to get in tune with your body and start to recognize, different patterns, like how beneficial that can actually be to both your emotional and physical well-being.
Because it's when you talk about holistic, it's everything. It's not just the oils, it's like our mental health, how we move our body.
Yeah.
I love it. Do you and your husband talk about the phases? Does he go, oh, are you in ovulation phase? Are you in, like, he actually uses the terms?
So yes, he uses the terms, and actually in my cupboard, like our pantry cupboard, I've got different trays because I sync all of my nutrition. I've got all of our seeds and grains and things. I've got them separate in different baskets. So I move the baskets around in the cupboard to then be able to like use that stuff to cook. And then in the door, I've actually got the list of what foods I'm focusing on for that phase. So when he does the shopping, he pretty much opens the cupboard and he can see what phase I'm in and what foods I'm eating. And it's just been great to like have him across them. So yeah, he knows. if you ask him now, he'll be like, oh yeah, just for the keel phase.
And he's in it too, right? So he's eating the same food.
He's eating the same food and he's actually loving it. I find that my cooking has actually been better. I'm more excited about cooking now because I'm like, rather than having like the world of food at my fingertips, I'm like, okay, so this phase, I know that I need to focus on prawns, cashew nuts, particularly veggies. And I'm like, perfect. What can I do with like, these 5 ingredients? I feel like I'm on Ready, Steady, Cook. I'm just like, yeah, what can I whip up and like, so it's actually been a very like welcome change to the way that I cook and the way that we eat.
I love that. I really, really, really love that. And I want to say a power to you for being a role model, like actually walking the talk and doing it, because I know it's not easy. And so it just gets me excited knowing that you're doing that. I can learn so much from you too. I want to ask you something too. When you
Yeah.
because you've been doing this for a while now, when you eat out of sync, so say in a phase that you have red meat when you're not supposed to have red meat, and there's no right or wrong here, but I'm just saying like, no, you're in your phases and then you have something that, I probably shouldn't have it, but I do. Do you actually, because you're so in tune with your body now, do you feel the difference?
I do. So particularly when my period comes. So, I do a bit of travel for work, and when I eat out, because I'm paying for food, I'm like, I'm just going to, have the burger if I want it. So it's mainly when I'm at home or, eating lunch that I focus on my nutrition. So if I'm traveling a lot for work and I'm eating out a lot, I find when my period then comes, like I've got the cramps, I've got the headaches, like I just want to like, be in bed rolled up. And so that when I get my when I get to my menstrual phase, that's when I really, really notice it. And like, yeah, coming back from holidays, I found that as well. I was like, oh, okay, this is a tough period. And it was like, I'm not really used to, having that. So it's that body characteristics that I've really found have changed me.
God, it's so interesting, isn't it? Wow. So I think the next thing is for people, if they've been listening to this, I'd love them to know like how they can work with you, or we've been talking about this ebook. How can they get their hands on it?
Yeah. So come check out my Instagram page. It's aromatherapy_co. So it's, spelt in the French way. So aromatherapy is spelt with an IE at the end. I've got a link to the ebook through there. So that's available. And I also share a lot on my stories and on my feed as well, of just little changes that you can make to balance your hormones, and just, tips about aromatherapy through there. Also check out my website, so aromatherapyco.com, and through there's different blog posts that you can read, and you can also reach out if you want some one-on-one coaching as well. But feel free to just DM me, and if you've got any questions about aromatherapy, like I'm very open. I love to just help other people. So yeah, come at me with any questions that you've got.
Yeah, I love that. And because you're now qualified clinical aromatherapist, if anyone's wanting to work with you one-on-one, they can. So it can be someone, if you've got a teenage daughter that's experiencing difficulties with her period, getting her in touch with you could be a great way to, work on some of this stuff in a holistic way.
Yeah, for sure.
All the different phases. If you're going through perimenopause or menopause, or your cycle's not right, or you're wanting to work on your fertility, or I think you're the one-stop shop.
Yes, I would love that. Yeah. And I would love to help, women and people with periods sort of really manage how they can just feel better throughout their whole cycle.
And it's just something I see all the time is when I've got someone in front of me and I can feel that they're really unsettled, or they're sharing something with me that is really hard. I'll always say, where are you at today? Like, where you are in your period, and they really don't know. And so I'd love for us just to have the start of a conversation that just be more aware. If you don't track it, start tracking it. If you track it, then maybe look at the different phases and what they mean. And like you said, it's just a stepped process. Just do one thing at a time. You don't need to do everything. Just do one thing slowly at a time, getting to know yourself. And yes, periods will differ. Just because you track it and you know the phases and you're eating well in the phases, life happens, stress happens. Sometimes you have to eat something different, and you may have cramps, but it doesn't mean that it's all over. It doesn't mean that, oh no, now I've got cramps for this period, there's something wrong with me. It's just like, just keep tracking, making notes, and being aware.
Yep. And then what can I change for my next cycle so that I feel amazing?
And celebrate it too. Celebrate now it's interesting. Like, when I was younger, I used to be like, ugh. And now, like, I'm 43, I'm like, yeah, I want to see. I get excited because I think, I wonder how long I'm going to have this for. Like, I celebrate every time I get it, I celebrate it. And it's interesting because I celebrate it the first day of my period, but I've really recently learned that I should be celebrating like when I ovulate, because that's the key part of that. Means my body's working. Like, yes, you can get a lot of us have been educated to think that as soon as we bleed, we're like, yay, we're in good, perfect working order. We're good. We can have a baby. Like, we're still good. But I think if people actually go to the middle of their cycle and look at the symptoms and see how much they're ovulating, can you tell when you ovulate? That's where we should be celebrating.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, look, thank you for coming on to my episode today, and sharing. I always love catching up with you and working with you as we do alongside each other in all our courses and stuff. So it's such an important topic for us today to talk about our cycle. And thank you for just being so honest and sharing things, because I know you're going to help so many people.
Oh, thank you so much.
Thank you so much for listening. I hope you enjoyed today's episode and it has inspired you on your self-care journey. Please feel free to share this with a friend and subscribe over on Apple Podcast. I really love hearing your feedback. So guys, please feel free to write a review on Apple and let me know which part of this episode resonated with you the most. To fall in love with yourself is the first secret to happiness. To find out a bit more about Self-Care Studio or the Studio Chat podcast, head over to my Instagram page, self_care_studio, or on my website, selfcarebybarbaraThompson.com.au. Really look forward to seeing you on the next episode. Look after you. And I'll catch you soon. Bye!